Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaivam Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Srinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vidhi Antas Tohi Apadrani Vidhunoti Suritsatam Nasta Prayashu Apadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, Text 78 and 79. Text 78. Yadak Shaischaritan Jyayan Karmani Achinute Sakrit Sati Karmani Avidyayam Bandha Karmani Anatmanaha. Synonyms: Yada, when; Akshay, by the senses; Charitan, pleasures enjoyed; Jyayan, thinking of; Karmani, activities; Achinute, performs; Asakrit, always; Sati Karmani, when material affairs continue; Avidyayam, under illusion; Bandha, bondage; Karmani, inactivity; Anatmana, of the material body. Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. As long as we desire to enjoy sense gratification, we create material activities. When the living entity acts in the material field, he enjoys the senses, and while enjoying the senses, he creates another series of material activities. In this way, the living entity becomes entrapped as a conditioned soul. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. While in the subtle body, we create many plans to enjoy sense gratification. These plans are recorded in the spool of one's mind as bija, the root of fruit of activities. In conditional life, the living entity creates a series of bodies one after another, and this is called karma bandhana. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 3.9, Yagyartat karmano anyatra lokoyam karmana bandhanaha. If we act only for the satisfaction of Vishnu, there is no bondage due to material activity, but if we act otherwise, we become entrapped by one material activity after another. Under these circumstances, it is supposed that by thinking, feeling, and willing, we are creating a series of future material bodies. In the words of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Anadi karma phale pade bhavarnava jale. The living entity falls into the ocean of karma bandhana as a result of past material activities. Instead of plunging oneself into the ocean of material activity, one should accept material activity only to maintain body and soul together. The rest of one's time should be devoted to engaging in the transcendental service of the Lord. In this way, one can attain relief from the reactions of material activity. Text 79. Achastad apavardartham bhaja sarvat manaharim pashyamstad atmakam vishvam sthiti utpati apyaya yataha. Synonyms: ataha, therefore, taught that; apavada artham, to counteract; bhaja, engage in devotional service; sarva atmana, with all your senses; harim, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead; pashyan, seeing; tat, of the Lord; atmakam, under the control; vishvam, the cosmic manifestation; sthiti, maintenance, utpatti, creation, apyaya, and annihilation, yata, from whom. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. You should always know that this cosmic manifestation is created, maintained, and annihilated by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, everything within this cosmic manifestation is under the control of the Lord. To be enlightened by this perfect knowledge, one should always engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Self-realization, understanding oneself as Brahman or spirit soul, is very difficult in the material condition. However, if we accept the devotional service of the Lord will gradually reveal himself. In this way, the progressive devotee will gradually realize his spiritual position. We cannot see anything in darkness or in the darkness of night, not even our own selves. But when there is sunshine, we can see not only the sun, but everything within the world as well. Lord Krishna explains in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 7.1. Maya asakta mana partha yogam yunjan mad ashraya asamshayam samagramam yata gnasi tachtranu. Now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. When we engage ourselves in the devotional service of the Lord to become Krishna conscious, we understand not only Krishna, but everything related to Krishna. In other words, through Krishna consciousness, we can understand not only Krishna and the cosmic manifestation, but also our constitutional position. In Krishna consciousness, we can understand that the entire material creation is created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, maintained by Him, annihilated by Him, and absorbed into Him. We are also part and parcel of the Lord. Everything is under the control of the Lord, and therefore our only duty is to surrender unto the Supreme and engage in His transcendental loving service. End of purport. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'd like to seek blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to read Srimad Bhagavatam and purify myself, or read Srimad Bhagavatam for my own purification. Please forgive me for any shortcomings. So I've taken some notes from senior Vaishnavas and from Srila Prabhupada. So in the text 78, it is mentioned how the living entity acts in the material field. And so in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, we hear about the living entity is the kshetrajna, and he resides within the body, the kshetra. And by thinking, feeling, and willing, the soul shapes his future existence. Destiny is not accidental, but it is manufactured internally through the subtle body, the mind, intelligence, and the ego. The root of fruit of activity, the root of karma, is not action itself, but it's the plans for material enjoyment within the mind. We have ignorant desires, and although desires are natural for the soul to have, These desires, which are born out of ignorance or avidya, are the root cause of suffering. So thinking becomes willing and acting, and thus worldly activity is poison when driven by sense enjoyment. These material plans promise happiness, but they only deliver pain. The heart burns with lust, anger, greed, envy, illusion, and madness, and the conditioned soul is cheated by karma and gyan when they are devoid of bhakti. The core cause of entrapment, and the real cause of bondage, is ignorant desires and ignorant plans for material enjoyment. By contemplating matter, one builds another material body, but by contemplating Krishna in Krishna consciousness, one prepares for a spiritual body, because one must accept some body or the other, but depending on the consciousness, depends on if we're preparing for another material body or if we're preparing to have a spiritual body. So in Bhagavad Gita 262, Jayato Vishayan Pumsha Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kamat Krodo Bijayate. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for these. From attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. This verse establishes that bondage begins at the level of contemplation, and from the contemplation comes the action. So to redirect dhyana, to redirect the contemplation, the mind must be withdrawn from the sense objects and fixed on Krishna through bhakti. If the mind thinks of Krishna and the heart feels for Krishna and the will acts for Krishna, then one will attain a spiritual body. Thus, instead of drowning in the ocean of material affairs, the sadhaka can plunge into the ocean of bhakti rasa. Bhakti yoga is acting only for Vishnu. This is higher even than Nishkam Karma Yoga, because this is done only to please Vishnu. And prayer is essential for advancement. In his song Anadik Karma Phale, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur humbly places himself in the position of a fallen soul. He lists his disqualifications, but he doesn't only do that. He also very importantly says, Krishna, please save me, please pick me up, and please engage me in your devotional service. It shouldn't stop at, I'm fallen, I'm unqualified, and I'm hopeless. Prayer also needs to be there. Vandanam is one of the 9 processes of devotional service. The prayer to be engaged in Krishna's service for his shelter. Feeling low and insignificant is only good if properly directed. We need to do some service for Krishna and engage in the processes of bhakti yoga. What the sadhaka does with his feeling with his feeling of being fallen is the difference between quickly advancing and struggling and slowly advancing. Depending on how they are directed, they'll be successful quicker or less fast. But ultimately, they will both be successful because they're on the path of bhakti. But the amount of time it will take them to get there will be the difference. So advancement depends on determination, sincerity, the mercy of Krishna, and the mercy of Krishna's devotees. As purification progresses, deviations reduce in quality and quantity until we are fully concentrated on the devotional service. The mind will wander to pure topics like Krishna's pastimes or Krishna's devotees instead of the holy name. For example, when Raghunath Das Goswami had a desire to reinstate Radhakund while he was chanting, but he had chastised his mind for going away from the holy name. So in this way, even at the Japa retreat, some devotees had mentioned how they noticed the quality of the deviations of their mind was going to more pure topics. But regardless, it's still the mind deviating, and we're trying to focus on the holy name, and all the deviations will lessen as we continue. And even at the beginning, you can clearly notice those deviations become more pure. Your mind won't go to material contemplations, but to spiritual topics. So even if the devotee does stumble, from Uddhava Gita, we hear Krishna saying, and also in Bhagavad Gita, even if a devotee momentarily engages in sense gratification due to weakness, he repents and continues his service, and Krishna remains pleased. Bhagavad Gita 9:30, even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly. So sense desires diminish through practice of bhakti, and only after that point, when those sense desires diminished, can one gain entrance into Vrindavan. So the difference between human life and animal life is the principle of yajna, where we engage in becoming advanced in Krishna consciousness, where we engage in divine austerity and tapasya, then we will be able to have unlimited happiness, satisfaction, and spiritual bliss. So we must worship Krishna throughout the day, morning, noon, and night. This is yajna. Don't work hard for sense gratification. There has to be some yajna or sacrifice and service to Krishna. The grihastas work and they get money from that, and they accept that and engage in Krishna service, and they engage their life in Krishna service. This is yajna. We will be able to experience the unlimited spiritual happiness in relationship with Krishna by doing this. That is the reward for the sacrifice. And yajna includes helping others. The service extends to family, friends, co-workers, animals, even people that we don't know. It's Lord Chaitanya's instruction that whoever you are, become a guru. Wherever you go, speak Krishna's teachings and deliver the land. The world is saturated with ignorance and idolization of trivial personalities, endless gossip and distraction. And for our response, we should live as examples and deliver the message unchanged. We should act like a postman and not alter the letter of Krishna consciousness, because the misrepresentation of Krishna consciousness, the spiritual life, delays souls for many lifetimes. So in conclusion to that verse, the contemplation is creating destiny, and bhakti redirects the mind. Prayer fuels service, yajna sustains spiritual life, and mercy completes the process. Manmana bhavo mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru mam evaishyasi yuktaivam atmanam mat parayanaha. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. By fixing the mind, heart, and will on Krishna, the soul escapes material bondage and attains eternal service. And then in the verse 79, we hear how the cosmic manifestation is created, maintained, and destroyed by the Lord. And from this we understand that nothing in the world is acting independently. The material creation operates by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is acting through his Purusha expansions. And so This Bhagavatam is the sun in the Stark Age of Kali Yuga. In Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.43, this Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in this age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. And so we are practically experiencing this every day, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, that we are receiving so much information from Srila Prabhupada's purports that how could we have possibly known any of this without Srila Prabhupada? And so spreading this message is this is Lord Chaitanya's mission. And so Prabhupada himself, he was very flexible. He wasn't fanatical with others, and he was only fanatical with himself. And just by our own example, people see your character and they see your joy, and it changes people. For a personal example, that my mom became a devotee naturally by coming to the temple with me and hearing the messages of Bhagavad Gita, and she said it makes sense, and she's kept with the process, and we're both engaging in Krishna consciousness together at home. And it wasn't something that I needed to force, but the proof was there in the practical experience of being in devotee association and hearing the transcendental sound vibration. So therefore, we should always be loving, and we should love Krishna. We should always chant his names. We should be a good example. We should always be happy.